Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team. And today we're going to talk about home automation. I have a special guest with me, John from CHRI Audio and Video. John, who is CHRI Audio?
So CHRI Audio Video is a company that is located kind of at the cusp of Canada and Stittsville. We'll often mention Canada just because Stittsville still kind of leads people to think we're way out there.
You're way out in the country, yes.
With all the development in the last few years on Hazeldean Road, which now starts to feel a lot like Merivale Road, we're not that far off the beaten path.
Okay.
We're just a little bit from Terry Fox. So we've been in business for about 18 years, almost 10 at our present location on Iber Road. And we are a company that focuses on audio and video. We do both commercial and residential jobs. So we'll do everything from boardrooms to schools with acoustical treatments. Residentially, we do everything from distributed audio, home theater systems, sound throughout the house, and home automation.
Great. Well, the Dekker Team focuses mostly on residential. We do some commercial, but we probably wouldn't be involved in the audio portion of commercial. So we're going to talk primarily about home automation, innovations that have come out. There's a lot of talk about wireless and all this kind of stuff. So we're going to hit a bunch of those things. So really, what is home automation?
So when we think of it in its simplest terms, home automation is a means of gaining control over devices in our house in a more simple way. I mean, if we roll back and think to when we were young and we, oh my gosh, had to get off the couch to change channels on the rotary of our TV, we've obviously come a long way. And in its simplest form,
John, I used to have to go up on the roof and turn the antenna, and my family would yell down when it was in the right spot.
That's good. Yeah, well, we had a rotor, and so I guess things were pretty good for us because no one was making me go.
Older than
Yes, there you go. I managed to skip that by a few years.
So we've, as technology has evolved, we're looking at how we can include technology in our lives. And for a lot of our customers, the idea of having integrated systems and simplicity of control, I think that's a big thing, and that's often where the starting point for us with automation conversations comes from, is that when people think of their own kind of current, say, TV setup, where you have a remote for the television, and a remote for the Rogers or Bell or Shaw or Cogeco box, and you have a remote for your Blu-ray, you have a remote for your amp, you have a remote for this and remote that. And we kind of jokingly refer to that as remote-itis. I mean, when you have to have a flow chart on how to turn your system on, and when maybe no one uses certain elements of a system, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, we might have to have you over. My wife doesn't know how to turn on our home theater system.
I mean, it does vary within relationships on who's the person who's comfortable, but I would say in probably 95% of my customer conversations, that's a big one, is somebody is perhaps a little more comfortable with technology, somebody is a little less so. And again, the whole idea from us as a business is it doesn't do us any benefit to put a system into your home and then you don't know how to use it.
Right.
So home automation has helped us move forward leaps and bounds. So a lot of times an automation system could start as simply as some sort of unified remote and perhaps a design that takes the equipment into another location. Because as much as I love technology and love home theater and love audio and video, for a lot of our customers those boxes are an annoyance. Where does it want to go? Having a piece of furniture to hide it, or perhaps it's out on display. So a lot of times a home automation conversation can start simply with the idea of how can we hide the equipment but give you an easy means of control.
Right. And that's why you got to come over, because I built in all my stuff into a closet, and now I got to get up out of my recliner and go around and adjust things, because I got to get a little remote.
Well, and that's often how it starts. I can remember going to a customer's house to spec an automation system. He was a very smart guy. He was older, and he'd actually set up a series of 3 mirrors that he would point at one mirror so the remotes would bounce to control the gear that was hitting. It was great, but he was hoping for something a little bit more advanced. In the form factor, I mean, we can have something that looks like a traditional remote, and for things when we're dealing with the system control related to TV, that's often the way we go because it's natural. You're used to holding a remote. When we'd start to deal with some of the other elements that we can control, whether it was lighting or shade control or looking at your cameras or your thermostat, that kind of stuff, will often kind of involve a tablet, whether it's, you know, an Apple or an Android or Windows or whatever. We'll do a tablet control because we have a more surface area and that's more tactile. But a lot of my customers find channel up and down with an iPad or a tablet isn't natural volume, whereas a remote in your hand works. So we do a hybridization of control surface. It can be, you know, phones, it can be tablets, you can do computer control, and often, like I say, if it is a video component in the system, maybe in the TV room, we're doing something that still feels like a traditional remote, so that it's just comfortable to use.
So it's controlling, like you mentioned, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. It's controlling the thermostat.
It's possible, yes.
The lighting. So if you're not home, you can turn lights on.
Absolutely.
I think I've even seen some stuff you can control locks on doors.
Absolutely.
Now. So
yeah.
you
We can do all of that.
And let someone in or let the kids in or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's the sequencing. So you've mentioned lighting and how when you're away you can kind of create a sense of within the home that somebody's there because certain lights turn on and off at certain times. But from a kind of a functionality perspective, we can coordinate it so when you open your garage door, the mudroom lights come on and the doorway from your garage into your home unlocks. So you're coming home, you've got an armful of groceries, you're not in the dark, you're not fumbling for keys, you just grab the handle and in you go. So those kind of things are possible. The key is kind of showing people that when we're designing a system, you know, what do we want to do and how would we like to grow the system? So we make sure that the horsepower is there and then you can just add on as you go.
So you can do cameras so we can watch the house when we're away.
Absolutely.
We can adjust the temperature while we're away, so when we're coming back, we land at the airport, we can adjust our thermostat back up.
Absolutely.
From our trip. We've saved some energy, and now we're going to go, and it's going to be warmer when we get there.
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned saving energy. I mean, that's often a driving component of conversations we have with customers, especially if we're dealing with waterfront homes, lots of glass, or snowbirds who are coming and going. That idea of how can we use technology to be more efficient. So with lighting control, we can set up scenes that, you know, the lights aren't at full 100% on or off. We use dimmers that are automated, and we can kind of set scenes in a room so you can get the lighting you want, but we're often able to save 20, 30% as far as the energy consumption on the bulb, even while you're in the home. Obviously, when you're not, yes, that ability to time and automate the thermostat, you get a surprise cold day like, you know, we've been having off and on all this year.
I don't know whether they have air conditioning on
Yeah, well,
heat
that's
or
just
nothing.
it. I saw a
pretty
Facebook
weird.
post that says that we're the only country where you can get a sunburn and frostbite in the same day. You know, so it's just one of those things, right? Managing your home, managing your life in a way that suits you.
Okay, so what types of systems are there out there?
So what's interesting is a lot of customers, when we're trying to educate them, is there are a number of systems. We start at the entry level where you can find individual components that have their own control. So a lot of thermostats now will have an app. So there are light bulbs from Philips, for example, and other companies that have an app. There are music systems that have an app. And for a lot of our customers, that's kind of what they often start off thinking, okay, well, we'll do that, we'll do that. But often what that leads to is kind of the similar scenario as I have customers in their living room where they have 6 remotes. So you're opening and closing apps and there's no way to integrate it. So again, we start with products that are kind of smart and have some control on their own. The next step up is to look at an integrated solution wherein under one application or under one remote, all of those devices can be controlled.
Now, can we utilize the ones if we've gone out, you know, maybe I have a Nest thermostat
Well, and that's a
or
great
whatever.
one to bring up. So there are some level of products that we can integrate. So Nest is a perfect example. Most of my control systems that I do, whether it's Control 4 or Savant, those are a couple of brand names of some of the products that we sell that are automation systems that are very popular. Those guys, Nest actually is well built enough and smart enough and has enough control parameters that we can integrate it into one of our automation systems. On the audio side of things, there's a company called Sonos that has really taken over the home distributed market.
Never heard of them.
They're a very, very neat company, and they have software, and they have everything from little tabletop boxes for kids' bedrooms or offices to streaming boxes that connect to an existing stereo, to amplified boxes for new stuff. So they do kind of have the full gamut. They have a sound bar. Their stuff will integrate within Control 4, say. So it's nice for a customer to know that when they're looking at options, even if maybe now is not the time to pull the trigger on an automation system.
On a full-blown.
Exactly, but we look at knowing that if that's what you'd like to do, then when you're talking to somebody who does this for a living, I can say, well, currently, these products, this would be a good thermostat to consider, because someday it could be kind of under the fold and banner of an automation
Right, so
system.
put that piece in if you only need that
exactly,
piece.
and then you're not, because no one wants to waste money.
So they should really be giving you a call before they start spending money on
it's
anything
important to
automated.
get some advice, and one of the things with us that's kind of nice is we are a pretty relaxed shop. Our sales and design staff, we're not on commission, so there's no push. It really is a conversation. We love what we do. I don't want to do anything else. This is fun. I joke with a few of my friends when I bump into people I haven't seen in 20 years and they say, what are you doing? That I'm a legalized crack dealer. And for some of my customers, I'm sure their wives have ankle monitors on them to see that they're a little too close to the
you're
shop.
not allowed to go into that
exactly.
store.
Alone. Yeah, you can't go in alone.
Yes, that's a good point. Maybe I better stay away from it. But I think I will have you over.
Wonderful.
So, John, how do our listeners reach you if they're thinking, hey, let's put something in. I really want to be able to control my thermostat while I'm away, or just see whether the house has gone. I'm in Florida. I want to see if the house temperature is dropping because the furnace broke.
Absolutely.
So at least I can look at what my thermostat's set at and what the current temperature is in the house on my iPhone or smartphone or whatever. And go, hey, I better send somebody over there.
Yeah. So, normally, obviously, we try to get people into the showroom. So, again, we're in Stittsville, 126 Ivor Road. Customer can call us and set up an appointment. We do walk-ins as well. Obviously, if somebody has a big wish list of information they're looking to get through, a booked time to sit down so that we can honor their
So, John, how would they call you? What number would they call you?
So, our phone number is 613-831-7140. Or they could go to our website, sigav.com, so sigav.com.
Okay, very cool. So we talked a little bit about expansion opportunities. So if we decide we go for, I think you said
Control 4.
Control 4.
Yeah.
4. I got the 4 part.
Perfect. No, you're good.
And what was the other brand?
Savant.
Savant. So if we go to one of those, or are there any others, or are those your main two?
Those are the main two that we sell. A lot of it for us, it's not that there aren't other companies available, but much like you in your world, over a time of experience, you build relationships. If a customer asks you to refer somebody for something, over time the companies you're comfortable giving out a name. And so for us, a lot of it comes down to, if I sell a customer something and there is a hiccup, and with technology there can be, things break, it's a modern world, we've all experienced that. The key is what happens after there's a problem.
Is there a Control-Alt-Delete button on here?
We try to make sure there
home automation.
It is. It's called push the power bar in your rack and reboot it, because we don't want people pushing buttons or unplugging stuff. And actually, that's an interesting point, because we now have automated power systems as well. So actually, I have in most of my more sophisticated systems, obviously, there's a number of devices that need to be plugged in, and the rack-mounted power management system actually lives on a network. So if a customer calls us and says something's not working, we a lot of times can figure out very quickly what that is. So without throwing, say, Bell or Rogers onto the bus, but sometimes a Bell box will lock up or a Rogers box will lock up. Our ability for one of my guys, without having to roll a truck, to basically reset that outlet for a set period of time so it reboots, then the customer can call me back and say, hey, Anna, we have TV again. If it's more complicated, I can actually repower the whole system. Most customers have experienced how computers work today, where sometimes, it is a shutdown and a restart, or sometimes you have to unplug your router. I think most people can relate to the fact that, okay, I've experienced something like that before. Yeah. And essentially, these are computerized systems. They're sophisticated, and they are computers at their heart. So.
Right. So that power system, is that battery backed up?
Some of them are, and some of them aren't. It often depends on the scope of the system and what we're doing. A lot of times we want to make sure that that processing brain for the automation system is backed up on a battery backup so that it is constantly on and it doesn't lose stuff. Because again, like a computer, sometimes when you reboot a network, it's possible that a conversation gets lost. So we'll often look at the key components in the system that we want to make sure are backed up, never off, ready to go. It minimizes confusion.
All right, perfect. Well, if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team, and we have John from Signature Audio and Video, and we're discussing home automation, which is becoming a more and more prevalent thing in homes. It becomes a selling feature sometimes when we're selling homes, especially if all the backbone is there, all the wiring's gone in. Doesn't mean you have to leave all your stuff behind, but quite often some of the stuff is going to be left behind.
A lot of times it can be left behind, and a lot of times it can be something from a real estate perspective that is negotiated as, a sidebar. Sometimes it's included to get the price that the customer wants, and where, depending on how old the system is and what the customer's plan is, they'll obviously talk to that end with you guys about, what do we want to have included, what's not, work out a negotiating price, and it's certainly a tool, because for a lot of people, this seems intimidating. My job, obviously, at where I work, is to make it not intimidating, to make it easy to understand. But for a lot of customers, the concept of this is very appealing, but there's a fear factor that, that seems overwhelming, we couldn't do it. If you are looking at a home that already has this stuff in play, it's obviously a lot less scary.
Yeah, like I stayed at a hotel in Vegas. It was a smart hotel room, so the TV, you could control your lighting, your temperature, all kinds of stuff right through the TV with the remote.
Yeah.
So it was
with an on-screen, and so
close the blinds. You could do everything in the room. It was pretty cool.
It is pretty neat, and in fact, for us, a lot of times that hotel, whether it be Vegas or somewhere else, that fancy hotel is often what leads to an email or a phone call going, so is that possible in my home? And one of the reasons why I think home automation has really taken off in the last 5 years has been that it's kind of gone from a price point of being lifestyles of the rich and famous only to something that regular professionals can consider and afford.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Just I know the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
You can spend a fortune. You can upgrade different components. But let's say if someone wanted. Well, let's talk about home theater first of all, because that's probably where a lot of people enter the field.
Yep, absolutely.
They want to, the big screen TVs are nice, they're great, but there's something about watching, 120 or 135 inch screen with a projector and the popcorn maker and the whole,
absolutely.
the whole little gamut, right? So what do we have for sort of a budget entry into a home theater system? That would be screen, projector, audio, and then where's that go? I mean,
sure.
obviously
No, absolutely.
Really
so
high,
what's fun for us is, that side of the world has become more affordable as well. I can think back to, 7, 8 years ago. I've been with the company now for 10 years. I'm not an owner. I just act like it. But for me, when I first...
have to talk to them about that, John.
Well, we're working on it. No. For us, what's very interesting is that, 8, 9 years ago, a good projector was $30,000. Now a good projector can be had for $2,500 to $2,000. There are some that are impressive for less than that, and then obviously we sell higher end stuff. So as a starting point number, if somebody wanted a big screen, a nice sound system, a projector, they wanted it installed, they wanted the gear hidden away, and they wanted some sort of smart remote to control it, somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000 is going to be a turnkey on that, and that's a fraction of what it used to be. And obviously, I've had customers who know that's what they want to do, but they can't quite swing it right now. So maybe they start with the old TV that they had, which is only a few years old and still fine, but we get the room wired and ready to go, put the speakers in and stuff, and we can obviously scale and build. On the automation side of things, if we go back that similar timeline, 9, 10 years ago, a customer used to have about $100,000 investment just to get started on automation.
Yeah,
right?
I've heard of that.
It was, we've got systems, that and I look at past invoices because, of course, we have a nice tracking record of what's been sold over the years. It wasn't uncommon to see those kind of numbers. Nowadays, we can get a unified remote, so a nice, say, Control4 remote that you have app-based control on your phone or tablet, the brains, probably a little bit of network upgrading because most people's network isn't maybe all the way there for this level of sophistication because it's a computer. If it doesn't have a strong network, it's not going to work.
When you say network,
so we may have to. No, we may have to upgrade your router. Right?
Okay.
It may, we may need to obviously add a network switch because now we're adding more devices, and a lot of these devices don't want to be Wi-Fi. So we want to, in some cases, see if we can get hard lines. So a good starting point for, a control system, maybe a few lights in your theater room that when you hit play, dim down, when you hit pause, come back up. Budget somewhere in the, say, $2,500 to $3,000 range can get you something installed that has a fair bit of horsepower. From there, depending on the number of rooms, whether we're doing video switching, and by that I mean instead of having, a Rogers box in each room of the house, if somebody wants all that stuff in the basement, obviously now we're starting to run more expensive cables, we have more complicated systems. I mean, we can still spend $100,000 on a system, but I mean, at that point, it's pretty unbelievable.
And you're also talking people that have TVs in every room.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have one.
And us as well. We have a projection room, and I have a TV. So for me, my needs are different than some people.
Yeah, I have a projection room and nothing else.
Yeah.
But I would like to get some audio going through my house for worship music and that kind of thing to create some ambiance. And I've got some speakers pre-wired, but unfortunately the wires go to the family room and not to the basement where the rest of my audio is. So,
but that can work. I mean, there are systems that we can kind of still give you the control, and we can bridge them. So there's lots of possibilities. And I think that's an important thing for a customer to understand is that obviously if you're renovating or building, you want to talk to somebody like us as early as possible because that's the cheap and less expensive way to do it. Get wires running.
Put all your pre-wiring in.
Exactly. Get the backbone. And so when we talk about wish lists with people, we're looking at what would you like to do now? What might you like to do someday, and what do you want to have the ability to consider? And if we break it down like that, obviously the key for that is get the wiring done.
Okay.
And then you can kind of move along at your own pace, going, okay, well this year, there's a surprise tax return, or maybe I got a bonus, and this is where I'd like to invest it, or a customer decides it's time to move forward on a certain element.
And I think people are spending more and more time in their house, cocooning a little bit, making it that comfortable place. Like it's one thing you can go to a movie and you can, you can spend your $50 on munchies and your $40 for 2 tickets and the babysitter, and suddenly you're out 100. And maybe if you go out for dinner, now you're out $200.
Yeah, it happens very quickly. And for me as a parent with teenage daughters, the worst part of that experience is on our way out, one of my kids will look at me after I've spent all that, and I'm Dutch, so I'm genetically predisposed to being frugal. One of them will look at me and say, probably would have sounded better at home. Because we have a nice system, right?
Yeah.
So I have a couple of customers that's actually how they built their system. Their logic is that rather than spending $200 a month going out for dinner and to the movie, they would repurpose that money into a budget, and over time they've built unbelievable theater rooms, and they get to watch way more than one movie a month.
Yeah, I have that same sort of situation, and what I've found is by putting in a nice home theater and it seats 12 people, all recliners, powered recliners, people want to come over.
Absolutely.
They can have a beverage, they can have their popcorn, and I can get up to the popcorn machine and still hear the movie. I don't even have to pause it.
You're not missing a beat.
I don't have to go through the whole place. So that's kind of neat. So we've talked some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
What's mind-blowing? What's a mind-blowing option that's coming out?
So, I mean, a couple of things that are kind of neat from what a system like this can do. I mean, that, and obviously there's different levels of what impresses people. If I go on to kind of the quality of life perspective, I have a number of customers who are disabled in some way, shape, or form. And what the automation system has done as far as their quality of life and control truly is mind-blowing. I have a female customer, her and her husband have a system. She has very limited mobility, very limited hand control. And the look on her face when her system was up and powered and she knew she can get into her bed at night, has control over her TV in a way that she can manage, not with a complicated remote, but simple touches on a bigger screen, the ability to control the light after she's settled in bed because she can't reach the lamp. Those things can be pretty neat. I have a customer who's a very busy executive. We set his system up so that when his kids come home through the door, he gets a screenshot of his camera of his kids walking in so he can relax. So he knows little Billy and Jenny are home. They didn't
Yeah.
bring any friends who weren't supposed to come over for a movie party after school,
Yeah.
right? And now he knows the house is back locked up, and they're in.
The latch key.
Exactly. Well, and that's
and now you can monitor that.
Exactly. You can have that little bit of peace of mind if you're a parent who has to work, until the supper hour, and you come rushing home, and your kids are home for a period of time. That peace of mind can be integrated.
Mm-hmm.
For me at home, one of the things, much to the chagrin of my children, I have the ability to go onto the system and shut their music off at a certain hour at night when they should be asleep. And I've taken it a step forward and actually automated our Wi-Fi. So actually our Wi-Fi in their rooms and through the home, other than my own tablet, which can stay active, gets shut off at a certain hour. So there's no hiding under the sheet on your iPhone, texting your friend when you shouldn't be. The phone, that stuff is shut down. So it's just those kind of things are pretty neat. Obviously, from a coolness factor, I mean, we've had customers do unbelievable systems, theater systems like yours with multiple seating, full automated blinds throughout a home. There's some really neat stuff out there.
Well, that's really cool. So if you're considering any kind of home automation upgrade, or even as little as a thermostat that you can control from your iPhone, doors, locks, cameras, audio, the gamut is
it's all there.
unbelievable, right? Yeah. So give John a call. What's your number again, John?
613-831-7140.
Gotta say that a little slower. They're writing it down right now.
613-831-7140.
Yeah, so that's great, John. I'm just going to introduce a lovely property we have in the Canada area. It's actually a townhouse. But it's an end unit, so it feels like a semi, but it is a townhouse, and it's kind of unique because it's quite large. It's $395,000, and it has a 2-car garage, main floor family room. Like this is a big townhome. It's not your typical townhome. So give us a call if you'd like to look at that property. It's $395,000. We also have a wide gamut of houses all over the place with home theaters in them. That's always a factor when someone looks at a house and it's got a home theater, and it creates that emotion, oh, I'd like to buy this house. And then you look at the sheet and they go, excluding the projector, excluding the screen, excluding the speakers. And people's hearts go, oh, now I got to figure out whether I increase my price and ask them for it, or go see you and pick up a brand new system, because technology is changing pretty quickly.
Yep.
So, so if you've got questions about what you want to spend on your home, whether it's going to affect the value of your home, give the Dekker Team a call at 613-860-4663. That's 613-860-4663. We'd be delighted to discuss your plans and what that might do to the value of your home. Also, if you need to buy a home that you want to put a home theater in, or any other thing, or just put your kids to bed at night in their own rooms, give us a call, again, 613-860-4663. And if you have any ideas for future shows or questions that you'd like answered, you can email them to dekkerteam at CHRI.ca. That's dekkerteam at CHRI.ca, and we'd love to answer your question, both in person or via email, and also on the next show. So that number again to reach us, to buy or sell real estate, 613-860-4663. And we're glad you joined us on the Inside Track on Real Estate. Bye for now.